Hi guys, welcome to another video on my channel, and in this video I'll be creating a simple navigational bar like this. So this is the navigational bar on a full screen, but when it gets to a specific size, like maybe a tablet view like this, what is it, like this, then it turns into a nav bar we've all been waiting for. When we click on it, the nav bar turns into an X, and when we click again it turns into the three lines. Notice when we click on it, it slides smoothly from the right. We're going to be using Css Positioning and Css Transition for that, and we're going to be using the flex property to align them to the center and to justify the content to the center. So I'll leave the code of this final project in the description below, so if you want to get that, you can just download that. But if you want to see how we make this, then you can stick along to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed this video, and before I forget, I will leave the link to the final project in the description below, so you can get that there. So without further ado, let's jump in. So the first thing I'm going to do is to go to our text editor. So I'm using Visual Studio Code. Anyone you're on is just fine. This simple nav bar is just created with vanilla JavaScript, HTML and CSS. Purely simple, no library, no framework of any kind. So in my text editor here, I just open a folder called my nav bar. You can name it whatever you want to name it. I'm going to create the three files we're going to be needing. So the first is an index.html, the second is style.css, and the third is app.js. So I'm going to create that by using index.html. I'm also going to create our style.css. Oh no, that's wrong. I would like to rename it, so style.css, and also our app.js, so app.js. So these are the three files we'll be working with, and this is our index.html. So that's it. So let us create our boilerplate. So we're going to create our boilerplate, and to create a boilerplate real fast with Visual Studio Code, I can also shift one tab and it's automatically going to generate all this code for us. So I'm going to change the title to campus, and before I forget, I would like to link our CSS to it. So I'll say link style.css, and I'll also like to link our JavaScript to it. So script, and I'll say app.js like this, and save. I'm using live server extension of Visual Studio Code. What the live server extension does is that it automatically reloads the page whenever I save a file. Like when I save this file, it will reload the page on the browser. So to make that happen, I'm just going to right click and go to open with live server, and it's going to open it on my local machine on my browser. So like this is the final project. So this is what we're working on. It is obviously empty because we have no HTML in it, so we're going to start styling the HTML. So I'm just going to close this, and just to show you that it is working, if I change this campus to campus1 and save, if I head on to my browser, now the title has changed over here. Now it is now campus1. So that is the work of the live server. So I'm just going to leave it like this. So in the body, we're going to be using some HTML5 semantic tag. So I'm going to use the tag of I'm going to use the header tag. So I'll say header, and I can just try a tag and press tab like this, and it's going to generate it for me. I'm going to give it an ID of main-header, and inside the header I'll be adopting some bootstrap classes like the container class, just the name. I'm actually not using bootstrap, just the name. So I'll create a div with the class of container, and instead of doing this, I can just write dot container, and it's going to automatically generate the div for us like this. And inside the div, I also like to create a div with a class of header. So I'll say header, and inside the header now we can now start writing what we need. So I'll create an h3 and I'll call it campus. Below the h3 I'll create, so below the h3 I'm going to create a ul. So ul, and I'll give it a class of nav-links, and inside the URL I'm going to create 4 list items. So I'll say li, and there will be an a tag in it that will go nowhere, so I'll put a number sign in it, and I'll call this home. So to copy these 3 more times, I can also alt shift down and it's going to copy it for me, and I'll say about, and also do the same thing, and this one will be services and also contact like this. So if you take a look, if we save and take a look at our browser now, it should be there on the screen. So now it is like this on the screen. So let us head back to our text editor. So below the UL, well, this is what we actually want, the burger. So we're going to create a div with the class of burger. So we'll say burger, and inside this div with the class of burger, we're going to create 3 divs. So we'll say div with the class of burger dash line dash 1 like this, and you can just copy this 2 more times, like this one should be 2 and this one 3, and when we save, I'm not going to see anything in it because it is empty. So that is all for the header, and that is practically all, but I would like to put some content in it. So I'll use the section tag, and inside the section I'll also use the class of container, and inside the container I will also create a div with the class of content. So to do that, I'll do div with the class of content like this, and I'll just put some sample text in it. So to use some sample text, we can also lorem and whatever the number of text we want, like lorem 10 tab, and it's going to just create 10 words for us. You can do lorem 20 or lorem 100 and tab, and it's going to create some sample text for us, but I don't need this. I just need lorem 20, just a little, and like this, and it's going to create it for us. I also like to have a div. Let's see the div. I also like to have a button, like in the final project. So I'll create a button with a class of btn like this, and the button is going to say learn more like this. And if we save and take a look at our browser, now it looks like this, just like the final project. So let's head on back to our text editor here. So now let's just start with some styling in the CSS. So I went on to my CSS, and right here I would just like to give it some basic resets so it does not mess with our padding and our margin. So to do that, I'll just do shift 8, that is the asterisk. No, that's not supposed to happen. And now say margin of 0 and padding of 0. I also like to put a box sizing of border box like this. So if I save and then we take a look at our browser, and it's going to be like this, all stuck to the left, because we have removed the basic styling of all elements. So I'm going to give our body some basic styling now. So I'll say body, and I'll give it a font family of Sego, UI, Taoma, and Jennifer, something like this. Now I'll give it a font size of 17 pixels. I also like to give it a line height of 1.8, and that should be all. So if I save and take a look, now it looks like this. It looks a bit better. So what I would like to style now is our container. So we have a class of container, so I can say container, and I'll give it a width of 75%, also max width of 1120 pixels, and margin of auto. So what this does is just center it to the middle. So if I say, when we take a look at our browser now, it is all in the middle like this, which is all right. We're getting there. So now if I would like to style our header now, and remember we have a class. We have a class of header, and we also have a tag of header. So I would like to start the tag of header first. So say header, and I will give it a background color of RGB 148,148,228 like this. So if I save, and for some reason this is showing, I don't want this to show, So this is just what I need. If I save and I add on to my browser, now it looks like this, just like the color, just the color we use in the final project, like this. So this is it. I would like to give it a color of white, and add some padding to it. So I'll give it a padding of 0.5 rem top and bottom, and 1 rem left and right. So if I save and we take a look, now it looks like this. Don't worry about this list item not turning, this li not turning into color white, because they're actually a tags, and a tags by default have this purplish color. So let's just start that now. So I like to add it to the top, that for all a tags I would like the color to be a white color. So you can do F, and also remove the underline by doing text decoration none. Like this, we save and take a look. Now it is gone. I also like to deal with the bullet points in the list items. So say li for all li, then list style none. So if I save and take a look now, all list style are gone. So what we want to deal with now is aligning it with the flex property to make them go horizontally. So to do that, I'll just come here and I'll call the class of header now. So I'll say header, and I'll give it a display flex. So if I save and we take a look at it now, it now looks like this, which is not what we want. But don't worry, we're going to fix that. So we'll say align item to the center and justify content space between, like this. If we save and take a look, now it looks like this. They are now aligned horizontally and also vertically. So we want to deal with this list item here because it is all start, and we also want them to be displayed flex. So to do that, we're going to come here and say the nav link, because remember we gave the UL the class of nav link here. So nav dash link. So we're going to call this and we'll say dot nav link, and we'll say display flex. If we say display flex, automatically it's going to be like this. So we say display flex, we say align item to the center and justify content to the center. Nothing is going to happen now. So I would like to call the nav link the li in it, and I'll say margin of 0 pixels top and bottom, 1 rem left and right. And if I save and take a look, now it looks like this, which is much better. I also like to give it a font size, because right now the font is just way too big. So I like to reduce the font size. So say font size of 14 pixels and save. If you take a look now, it looks better. So I like to deal with this h3, this campus. So just to start that, I'll come here and I'll say dot header the h3, and I'll give it a font weight of 400 and also a font size. I like to up the font size of 1.5 rem. So if I save and take a look now, it looks better. Now this is alright. So what we want to do now is the burger class itself. The burger, the 3 lines like in the final project here. So somewhere like this. This is what we want to do now, these 3 lines in the final project. So to do that, we're going to add on to our text edit here, and to do that, we're going to call the class of burger. Like remember, we gave this place, we gave it a class of burger here, so we're going to call it Ctrl+C and say that dot is for all div in it. So what we want to do, we want to give all div the same styling. So we're going to give it a background color of white, and we'll give it a width of, let me see, 28 pixels, and also an height of 3 pixels like this. So let us also give it a margin of 0 on the top, 0 on the right, 5 pixels at the bottom and 0 at the left. So if we save and take a look, now it's like this, which is what we want. Let me increase it. So now it is like this, just like the final project, like this. So I guess we're getting there. but originally we don't want this burger line, we don't want it shown. We really want it shown on a smaller screen, like around this size. Then we want it to be shown, and this nav link should now be gone until we click on the burger, like in the final project here. Like around this size, now the nav link is showing, but when we go a bit smaller, now the nav link is gone until we click on this. So to do that, we're going to have to make it display none, the burger itself. We're going to say display none. So we're going to our text editor here and say dot burger, and we'll say display none, like this. So if we save and take a look, now it is gone, like in the final project. So this is what it is. This is the final project here. It is just like this. So this is fine. We're getting there, people. So what next is I would like to give this content a bit of styling, because now it just looks terrible. So I'll come here, and remember we have a class of content. I'll give it a margin top of 2m, like this. And if I save and take a look, now there's a bit of margin at the top. Maybe I should make it margin also the and left and right 0. Now it looks like this. Also like to call the button, so we have a class of btn, so I'll give it a padding of 0.8 rem at the top and bottom, and 2 rem and left and right. So if we should save and take a look, it looks like this. So I'll give it a width of 100% of its container, and also a background color of the header itself. So I'm just going to come to the top and just copy this, copy and paste it here. So if we have to save and to look at it now it looks like this. But I would like to get rid of this border itself and also the outline. So to do that, I'll just say border none and also outline none, like this. So it looks better. I would like to change the color to white, and also like to give it a cursor of pointer. So I'll just say cursor pointer and save. Now when we take a look, now it is like this, which is fine. Or I would like to have an overstate. So when we over it, I would like to reduce the opacity. So I'll come here and I'll say dot btn colon over, then opacity 0.8, like this. I guess that's what I use in the final project. I would just like to confirm. So if we save and take a look, now if we over it, it is working, but there's still a problem. If we take a look at the final project, when we over it, it just comes into the over stage very smoothly, not like this one we're doing. This one just flakes into the over stage, which is not what we want. So the way to solve that problem, we're just going to add transition property, which is transition, or then the duration, which is 0.5 seconds, then the type of transition we want to add, so which is an ease transition. So we'll save and take a look. Now if I over it, hopefully it worked. Yes, it is working. So it is no longer flaking into the screen like before. So just to test it out, if I increase this like 3, if I say 3 and save, so now it is even taking time to come up, and if I over it, it's going to take 3 seconds to change into the over state. So that is too long. I would just like to return this back to where it is, like this. So now we are through with this. What we need to do now is the responsiveness. So on a smaller screen, we want the nav link gone, and we also want the burger displayed block. So because right now this looks terrible. So to do that, we're just going to use a bit of JavaScript. Like I said, we're just going to use vanilla JavaScript, no framework of any kind. So to get to the responsiveness, we're going to use the media query. So to use the media query, we're going to say at media in screen and into brackets max width of 700 pixels, like this. So what this means is that any style, any CSS we put into this media is only going to take effect on screens that are 700 pixels or less. So around this size, yes, around this size, around 700 pixels. So any style we put in is just going to take effect on screen that are 700 pixels or less. So just to test this start, we just use the body, and we say body, and we say display none. So that means on screen that are 700 pixels or less, the body should be displayed none, just to test it out. So if we save and we get around this size, okay, now it is working. So now we can prove that the media query is working, because it is, the body is gone, but when the screen is more than 700 pixels, it works fine. So we're just going to get rid of this to get what we're doing. Okay, so I would like to make this one so smaller so we can see both at the same time. So I'm just going to reposition this like this and close this for some room. Okay, so something like this is better. So what we want to happen is that screen that are of 700 pixels or less, then we want the burger class to change from display none to display block. So to do that, we're going to call the burger. So we say dot burger, and we'll say display block like this, instead of display none that we added in this place. We added display none, so we're going to change it to display block here. So if I save, now the burger has been added and it's now showing in our browser here. So what we want to do now after doing that is that we want to change this UL, because at the top here we gave the nav link a display of flex, so we don't want it to be display flex, we want it to be display block. So to do that, we're going to say dot nav link then display block. So if we save now, it's going to look like this, which is not exactly what we want, but we're going to deal with that in a bit. So what is going to actually happen is that we're going to push this nav link out of the screen, like around this side, 50% out of the screen. So when we click on this burger menu, then to come in smoothly from the right hand to the screen 50% like this. So this is the final product. The nav link is 50% out of the screen. So when we click on this, it's going to slide in smoothly from the screen. So that is what we want to do, and we're going to use JavaScript to do that. So let us first style this, and there's something I did not do in the final project. When we hover over these links like this, let me show you that. When we hover over this link, the color changed into a dark gray, so I'll just like to do that now. So I'll just come to the top here and say dot nav link, the li and the a tag in it. Then when over, like, I want to change the color to a very light, not very light gray, but a gray. So when we save and we take a look, okay, that is wrong. On over, so like this, and save. So when we over it, it changes into the dark gray, but it just flakes into it. So we like to add the transition to it. So say transition, or like we did the other time, 0.5 seconds and ease. So when we save now, it's going to look like this, so which is what we want. So now what we want to do next is that we want to take this out of the screen. So the way to do that, we're going to use our CSS positioning. So we're going to say position not relative absolute like this. If I save, now it is going to look like this, which is not what we want. It looks like this. These are the other links here. So we're going to give it a top, but before doing that, I would like to give it a background color so we see what we're doing. So I'll say background color of the header itself. So I'm just going to copy this, copy and paste it in here. So save. Now it looks like this. So I'll give it a top. So using positioning in CSS, we have access to any of these four properties, which is the top, which is the left, the right, and the bottom. So I'm going to give it a top position of 3.2 rem. So if I save, now it is 3.2 rem at the top, from the top of the screen, and also give it a right of 0 for now. So if I give it a right of 0 and save, it is like this. But this is not what we want. We want it to be right of minus 50%. So what minus 50% is going to do is that it's going to push it 50% out of the screen like this. So if we say minus 50% like this and save, now it is 50% out of the screen, but we can scroll like this, which is not what we want to do. We're going to deal with this later. So I would like to return this to 0 for now, so we can style it. So like this, I would like to give it let me see, maybe I'll just deal with that later. So what we're going to do now is that we're going to push this 50% out of the screen. So we're going to say minus 50%. I should have done this. So we're going to say minus 50% like this, but we don't want these scroll bars, right? So to do that, we're going to go to the top, to the body itself, and we're going to say overflow hidden. So there will be no overflow at all. So when we save now, there is no scroll bars at all, so it is not possible to scroll. So to bring this in, we're going to use JavaScript to bring this in. So we're going to add on to our JavaScript now. So I'm going to my JavaScript file, and this is my JavaScript. Hope I've linked it in my HTML. Yes, I've linked it. So in my JavaScript, I love mapping out what I will do. So I'm just going to map it out real quick. So this will be our selectors. We also have an event, because we're going to be calling some event, and the functions we're going to be using. So in our selectors, I would like to select our classes, like the burger menu itself. I would like to select the nav link and so on. So in the selector, I'm going to use the const variable. So const, no, in capital letter. So const, and I'll give it a class of burger menu, and document dot query selector, and I'll select the class of burger itself. So I'll say burger like this, and put some semicolon. I also like to have the nav link itself. So I'll say const nav links equals to document dot query selector, and the class of nav dash links like this. So when I save it like this, so what we want to do is we're going to add an event to it. So we're going to add the event to this burger itself, this line here. That's what we're going to add the event to. So we're going to say burger menu dot add event listener, and the event we want to add in is a click event. So in this place, there are always two parameters here. The first will be the type of event we want to add, while the second will be the function we want to call. And I'm going to use a name function. So we'll say a click event in comma, and the function we want to call is a name function. So we'll name it burger clicked. You can name it whatever you want, but I feel like this is okay. So when I save, nothing's going to happen. So this is the event, this is the function we're going to call. So I'm just going to copy this and come here, and I'll say function and paste it. So in this function, we're going to have a parameter here too, which is what type of function. Now it is an event function. I could write event, or I can just write only e. I love writing only e like this. And what we want to happen is that when we click on this burger menu here, then we want this nav link to slide from the right hand side, which is minus 50%, to 0 on the screen. So to test out if this is working, so we're just going to console.log burger is clicked like this, just to test it out. So I'm going to save, and I'm going to go to my developer tool. So to go to your developer tool, you can just either use F12 or click on this place and more tools, then developer tools like this, and it's going to show up here. Yours may be by the right hand side, but that doesn't mean it's still working fine. So when I click on this, then the console should output burger is clicked, right? So it does test if it's working, and now it is working. So this is working. If I continue clicking, it's actually working. So if I reload and click on it again, it is still working. but this is not what we want to happen. What we want to happen, like I said earlier, is that when we click on this border menu, then we want the nav link to slide from the right hand side. So let us try to call the nav link itself. I remember we already called the nav link. We gave the nav link a variable here, so we can say nav link and save. So when we click on this, then the nav link, now this is the nav link here. This is all we added to it, like this. So this is actually working. But what we want to happen, like I said earlier, is that when we click on this burger menu, we want the nav link on the screen 0%, 0 on the screen instead of -50%, which is out of the screen like this. So to do that, we're going to add a class of show nav link to the nav link itself. So I'll just leave this and I'll come in and say nav link dot class list dot add. We could use add, but I don't want it to be added. I want to be able to toggle it. So when we click on it, it comes in. When we click again, it goes out. So to do that, we're going to say dot toggle. Then the class we want to toggle is show dash nav dash links. So when we save, now to test it out, we're going to console log nav link. So when we click on this, then we can see the class of show nav link is added to the nav link, and when we click again, it is gone. So to even test it out, I would like to check our elements here. So like this, hope you can see it here. So where is it? The nav link here. So just take a look at this, please. So when I click on the burger menu, the class of show nav link gets added to it, and when I click again, it gets removed. So that is what we're going to be styling. More like we are through with this. So let's head on to our style.css. So what we want to style now is our show nav link here. So we can just copy this and go to our style.css here. So all the way to the bottom right here. Now say dot show nav links, and I just want to change this right from -50% to 0 on the screen. 0 like that. When I save, nice. Let me just make this a little bit smaller. I can even close it. So now when I click on this, then hopefully the nav link should be on the screen 0%. So let us check. Okay, now it is working. So this is what we actually want. So it is now working, and we can now rest. So I'll just like to style this nav link now because they look like crap. So to style it, I'll just come to the nav link here, and I'll give it a width of 50% of the container. I would like to give it an height also. So I'll give it an height of 100%. So height of 100%. So if I save and take a look now, it looks like this, but it is all the way to the left. So I would like to make them in the center like this, horizontally and also vertically. So to align them that way, I will use the flex property again, but kind of using this a lot. So display flex, not this flex, and also align. If I save this now, it's going to look like this. So I will say align item to the center, and also justify content to the center. If I save, it's still going to look like this. So I'm going to say flex flow to colon, and I save. Now it's like this, which is what we want. This is more like what we want. So I would like to add other things to this to make this look better. So I'll call the nav link the airline is, and I'll give it an height of 15%, and also I would like to increase the font size because it's a bit small. So see the font size of 17 pixels. So if I save now, it looks like this. This 17 pixels is a bit too much, so maybe I should just reduce it to 16. Okay, so this looks better. So this is now like the final project. When we click on this, it gets it. When we bring it back, it comes back. But I would like to have some transparency here, like in the final project. This is a bit see-through, so I would like to add that in this place. So to do that, I'm just going to say opacity to 0.9. So now it is a bit see-through like the final project, and the over effect is still working for this. But there is something that we do not want. Like if you take a look, if you notice that when we click on this, it just gets out of the screen, and when we click it just pop right into the screen. Unlike the final project here, that it just slides in smoothly from the right and also go that way. So to do that, that is very simple. We're going to be using the CSS transition property. So we're going to come down here to the nav link and we'll see transition, or just like we did before, 0.5 seconds, then ease. So when we save, now it should work hopefully. So when we click on this, it slides in smoothly from the right, and when we click again, it turns back into the position which is minus 50%, and it's totally responsive. On a larger screen it's like this, and when we get to somewhere around 700 pixels, it is here. So I also like to change this burger from this arrow sign. I like to make it a cursor pointer. So to do that, I'm just going to come here and I'll say cursor point and save. So when I hover it, it is now a pointer sign like this, which is what we want, like in this final project, like this. So it is an over sign. So guys, I guess we're almost through, but there is still one thing that doesn't work. So if you take a look, when we click on this, when the nav bar is opened, the tail line is still tail lines, which we don't want it to be that. We want it to turn into an X like the final project there. So when we click on it, it turns into an X, and when we click, it turns back into the tail line. So to do that, we're going to add a little bit of JavaScript, and I promise this is the last JavaScript we're going to be using. So let's head on to our JavaScript class. I can obviously get rid of this. So what wants to happen is more like the same thing we did in this place, because in this place what we did was that when this nav bar was clicked, we added a class of show nav link to the nav link itself, and then we styled the nav link. So to do that, we're also going to do the same thing for this. So we'll say animate burger into an X. So to do, we're going to call the burger itself. We'll say burger menu dot class list dot toggle, like we did the other time. Then once to add the class of toggle to it, you can name it anything, but I will name it toggle. So I'll say toggle and save. So if we console log, not this, console dot log the burger menu, so the class of toggle should have been added to it on click. So I'm just going to open my developer tool with F12 like this, and when I click on this, the class of toggle is added right here. When I click again, it is gone. And if I take a look at the HTML itself, why do you keep happening like that? So if I take a look at the HTML itself, and I'll just open this a bit. So like this, where is the burger? Where are you? Okay, yeah, right here. So so I'd like to close this a bit, and for some reason this isn't working. Okay, like this. This is the burger itself. So when I click on it, the class of toggle gets added to the burger, and also the nav show nav link gets the class of show nav link like before. So what I want to do now is that I want to style the class of toggle in this burger. So to do that, we're going to use our CSS for that. So I'm going to head on to the bottom here. Let me put it right here. So I'll say dot toggle, then dot burger dash line dash 1. So I'm going to give each burger line different styling. So I can close this for now. So each of them will have their own different styling. And remember, we gave the burger line each class. So this is burger line 1 down to burger line 3. So right here I will say I will just like to copy this 2 more times for the others. 1, 2 like this, and I'll change this to 2 and this to 3 like this. So for the first one, what we want to happen is we're going to use the transform property, the CSS transform property, and to use that we're going to say transform, then rotate 45 degree like this. We're also going to use translate 5 pixels comma and 5 pixels like this. So when we save, take a look at the first line. So when we click on it, now it's rotated 45 degrees like this. So that's the same thing we also want to happen to the third line. We want the third line to come this way so they can form an X. So we can just do that by saying transform, then rotate minus 45 degrees. So because we want it to be the opposite, then translate. What am I going to use? I'm going to use 5 pixels, then minus 7 pixels. It actually took me some time to figure out these numbers, so feel free to mess around with them if you don't like the X. So if I save, now it looks like this. But there's still a problem. This middle line, we do not want it, so that is actually simple. So we can just say opacity to none. Okay, opacity to 0 and save. Now it looks like an X. So the guys, we're almost through. Now when we click on it, it turns into the tail line. When we click on it, it turns into an X. But it just flicks into an X and also into the tail line, which we don't want. So to do that, we're going to use transition like we did before. We're going to go to the top right here to the burger div. I'm going to say transition all 0.5 seconds, then is, and save. So when we save, now it looks like this. When we click on this, it transitions smoothly into an X, and when we click again, it goes back into the theory lines, which we want, like the final project, like this. And the nav link is very, very responsive. On a larger screen, it disappears. The over effect is working, and on the smaller screen, it's extremely small like this, it's also working. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I didn't want it to be too long, so thanks for watching again. If you like the video, also leave a comment. If you have other questions, I promise to reply. Please subscribe if you haven't. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.